Hello enthusiasts and welcome to this new video from the blog www.MoonWatch.fr. Today I'm going to introduce you to a tribute watch, a Chinese homage watch to the famous Rolex GMT Master 2. The Pagani Design GMT automatic watch, I'll call it Batman. Thus, it is a tribute to the famous Swiss watch, the Rolex GMT Master 2 116710 BLNR. It is an entry-level watch that is made in China and probably comes from the same factories as the brands Parnis or Courgeot. I invite you to watch the video I made on the Courgeot Black Bay GMT. We'll see, they are very similar in terms of design, especially regarding quality. I was very pleasantly surprised by the quality of this watch. Whether it's the bracelet, we'll talk about it a little later. Pagani, it's a watch that has been on the market for about 10 years. And it has stood out from the competition, notably from Blaiga, by Nice, etc., by offering watches of a slightly higher range. Here, we can't really talk about chinoiserie with a negative connotation because the watch is really very well made. The finishes, the dial, the movement, the assembly. We are really looking at a very beautiful watch. We are not dealing with a watch of mediocre quality or even a classic chinoiserie. We are looking at an entry-level watch, well under €100, but the quality is there. Contrary to popular belief, the brand Pagani Design only designs quality watches which are inspired by successful models. For example, the Daytona, the GMT Master, the Explorer, that kind of watches. We are indeed talking about homage watches. Obviously, it is a brand that manufactures both automatic watches and watches with a quartz movement. Obviously, we are far from the craftsmanship of prestigious brands such as Rolex. There is no quality control or very little at Pagani. But despite that, the feedback from customers is relatively positive. And frankly, I was the first to be surprised by the quality of the watch. After consulting several forums and several opinions from my friends, I took the plunge and ordered one, this Batman GMT Master, which I will present to you right away. You should know that this Batman carries the reference PD 1662. The technical specifications of this Pagani Design GMT Batman. It's a watch that was produced in 2020. The first models came out at the end of 2018, I think. But at that time, the bezel was an aluminum bezel, whereas now it's a ceramic bezel. So made in 2020, it's a watch that is rather styled for men. The case is made of steel, stainless steel. The movement is an automatic movement that they have labeled as a DG588 GMT Pearl with 21 jewels. These are movements found in many Chinese watches. We will talk about it later, but it's a very good movement that works very well, with which I have never had any issues. It offers a power reserve of a little over 40 hours, which is quite suitable for an automatic watch. CD GMT Master Pagani is rated water resistant to 100 meters. I've never dived with it, but I have no doubt that it is water resistant to 100 meters. Given the design, it's quite plausible. The crown is screwed down and engraved. The glass is inverted with scratch-resistant sapphire. Regarding the dimensions, we have a watch with a 40mm diameter and 14mm thickness. It's a little thick, which is a bit of a shame. The weight of about 150 grams is quite acceptable. And otherwise, there are two complications on this watch, the GMT hand and the date. The case of the Pagani Design Batman is made of stainless steel and measures 40mm in diameter and 14mm in thickness. So we have a relatively common watch for a sub-traveler, for a watch inspired by the Submariner and GMT Traveler. So The dimensions are correct. It's true that 1 mm less in thickness and the watch would have been amazing. But honestly, on the wrist, it's not bothersome. The watch is great. 1, 2, 3, 4 font on top. We have a 60-click rotating bezel, so I'll try to bring it closer so you can hear the click. So this rotating bezel is available in several colors. Pepsi, which is red and blue, Coke, black and red, or Batman, like my model in wine blue and black. So contrary to what I've read on some forums, the bezel is indeed ceramic. It is normally said to be scratch resistant. When I show it, I've had it for 3 months. It's true that there are no scratches on it, and frankly the bezel is beautiful. It catches the light. It's really very, very nice. Ceramic bezels are somewhat the standard nowadays. Personally, I don't think it's an advantage. I like it when my watches age, when you can feel that they have a history. With a ceramic bezel like this, the watch will never get scratched. There won't be any patina, no signs of wear on it. I find it a bit unfortunate because it takes away some of the watch's character. I like it. When the watch has some history, whether it's a few marks, a few dings, I appreciate it. I buy watches to wear them and enjoy them, so I appreciate that. However, it's a shame because ceramic, honestly, I think over time it will develop little to no patina. Regarding the bezel, just a small thing. You see there's a small gap. I'll tell you, it's not very bothersome. I have watches from Swiss brands, so with slightly more premium budgets where I've had just as much of a gap, if not more so, well, it's not very shocking. It might also be related to my model. The crown is screwed down, and on it we find the Pagani logo. Wait, I'll try to unscrew it. So the Pagani logo is a kind of mix of a Tudor logo. We find a kind of pennant, a flag. The crown is engraved. It's very classy. Something that wasn't there, for example, on the Courgeux, which is about the same price level. Yeah, I really appreciate it. The grip is decent. When it's fully screwed in, the crown is very difficult to unscrew. That's why I think the waterproofing is really ensured. The crown unscrews perfectly. This allows you to wind the watch. Traditionally, the second position allows you to set the date. The third, the hands on the second position. You can also set the date and also the GMT hand. The movement is indeed very, very nice. The screwed crown allows you to adjust the watch, which works very, very well. I will open the bracelet to show you the case back. So the Pagani comes with a transparent case back which reveals a movement that is beautifully decorated. So the movement already, we'll talk about it later. It's a relatively basic movement, probably inspired by the DG3 804. And here we see Pagani made the effort to decorate the oscillating weight. Personally, I find it very pretty, very understated. I like it a lot. On it, you can read Pagani Design. Honestly, the case back is very nice. We are looking at a very, very beautiful watch. Honestly, nothing to say for this price level. They couldn't have done much better, I think. On it, you can read water resistant without mentioning stainless steel, among other things. And Pagani Design, of course. To conclude, I would say that the case is very well manufactured. It is obviously inspired by the Rolex GMT Master. The lugs are slightly thicker, as you can see. Well, it's not a copy, clearly, it's not a copy. The case doesn't have at all the same proportions as a Rolex GMT Master. I'm really talking about a pity. There are notable differences. The lugs, the height, the transparent case back, the bezel, which is higher. You see the bezel is quite thick. It must be 1.5 millimeter. So there you have it. We're really looking at an homage. The cherry on top, it's also a watch rated water resistant to 100 meters. So for a watch priced at 70, 80 euros, it's really nice. It's an excellent tool watch. I could definitely see myself going on vacation with it. Let's now talk about the dial of this Pagani Design GMT Master Batman. So the dial, I'm going to wipe it a little. There we go. The dial is black with indices that are silver rimmed. All around there is a very fine railroad track style representing each minute. We also find the date dial, which is located at 3 o'clock. The date window located at 3 o'clock. The date disc, it is not of very good quality. I am very disappointed. However, the quality, the printing of the date window, it's a shame because it's what shows that it's an homage watch, an entry-level watch. If the date disc had been well printed, this watch would have been amazing. Well, after all, it's just a personal opinion, honestly. It's not very bothersome when wearing the watch, but it's a bit of a shame. You can see that the writing of the numbers is quite coarse. Then on the dial you can read several inscriptions. So at 12 o'clock we find the Pagani logo with the inscriptions Pagani Design Explorer. I find it funny how the Chinese do this, like with the official certificates of agreement. Black Bay GMT game. Here we have a Pagani Design GMT Master homage on which they wrote Explorer. Well, it's quite amusing. At 6 o'clock you can read GMT, automatic water resistant 10 baht, 100 meters. That's a lot of writing, but honestly you get used to it. And that's what made me choose the Pagani over the Parnis. It's because the Parnis only has the logo at the top. Well, it only has the name written as Parnis. And I found that it looked empty. Here the dial is filled. I really like it. On 4 lines, honestly, it's very nice. Regarding the hands, they are Mercedes type, since the inspiration comes from Rolex. We have the same types of hands, but it differs from the hands of the Swiss watch, especially the tail of the second hand. We have a tail, shovel if I can call it that. Something we don't have on the Rolex hand. For me, the GMT hand, it is blue. The hand takes the color of the bezel. For example, if you buy the Pepsi, the hand will be red. So there you go. It matches the bezel. The readability in the dark is excellent. Peacefully. It is decent for a watch in this price range. The Luminova is slightly bluish, and then it lasts for an hour with quite significant intensity, and then very quickly it fades. I would have liked the reflective material to be more durable, lasting several hours. The watch would have been very, very nice like that. I would also have appreciated if the numbers on the ceramic bezel were phosphorescent, something that is not on the Rolex GMT Master, but it would have been very nice. It's true that here, well, after all, we're talking about a watch priced at 70 euros, so we have to stay within budget, but it would have been a commercial advantage. They were appreciated. Enthusiasts would. Then, the glass that serves to protect the dial and the hands is a scratch-resistant sapphire crystal. For an entry-level product, it's very decent. And even in terms of anti-reflective coating, honestly, it's decent. It's not a heavy anti-reflective treatment, but it deserves to exist. Scratch-resistant, nothing to say, it's sapphire. We also note that the watch's bezel is blank and there are no engravings. Here too, unlike a Rolex, for example. Like many Chinese watches, this Pagani Design GMT uses a Chinese automatic movement, the DG5833 GMT. It's a caliber that is not very expensive, quite robust and fairly quiet. It has 2 complications, namely the date and the GMT, indicated by the blue hand, with quick setting for the date, and the GMT hand. This movement is based on the DG5833 GMT. 3804, which is itself based on the DG2813. The Pagani Design GMT Master Batman comes with an oyster-style bracelet. Normally, but I prefer to choose the Jubilee bracelet, which slightly more resembles the Rolex Batgirl. It's the Batman. But on the Jubilee bracelet. Why the Jubilee? Because I find it much more elegant on the wrist personally. I am a big fan of Jubilee bracelets. I love them, so I chose it in this configuration. Generally speaking, Jubilee bracelets adjust more easily and are more flexible, making them more comfortable on the wrist than oyster bracelets. I am quite particular about the comfort of bracelets and thus the Jubilee. For me, it was more natural than buying an oyster. Obviously, the bracelet is heavily inspired by the Rolex one with a polished center. On my version, it is very well adjusted. The bracelet fits perfectly from Poil. I will show you later when I put on the watch. On another note, I wanted to talk about the deployant clasp. The deployant clasp is signed by Pagani Design. And it is really very well finished. Personally, I am pleasantly surprised by this deployant clasp and this bracelet. I will show you how it looks on the wrist. There you go. On the wrist you see the watch fits perfectly. Nothing to say, the bracelet is snug, as one might say. I just have a small remark regarding the deployant clasp. Sometimes to close it you have to press a bit. I have the same issue on a Rolex subnodate, so well, it's not that bothersome. It's a minor detail. Next, it should also be noted, I'll show you that like a Rolex Submariner, the bracelet has a quick extension, which allows you to gain a few millimeters in length, for example, if you want to wear the watch over a wetsuit. That's also very, very good. It's a very pleasing watch. And there you go, we've gained, I believe, maybe 5 millimeters. So that's also the little detail. But for a version at this price, it's just excellent, excellent. And there you go. Generally speaking, Chinese watch manufacturers offer products at unbeatable prices. Pagani Design is no exception to this rule and offers this watch. Pagani GMT PD 16 to 22 for less than 80 euros, delivered to your home from China. Pagani Design watches can be purchased on Amazon, but well, it will cost you a little more. So I recommend the traditional sites, Alibaba, AliExpress, etc. Personally, I received it in 15 days, very happy. Honestly, for less than 80 euros, it's impossible to be disappointed. I'm also going to talk a little about the packaging because honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. Pagani delivered it in a very small box of very good quality with a slightly foamy texture in which we find several elements. For example, a user manual and a warranty card that will be of absolutely no use, because who would return a watch worth 80 euros under warranty knowing that just the shipping costs would be higher? But well, in any case, the packaging is neat, and for this price range it's very, very rare. Also note the bracelet extension. See, I have plenty to work with additional links. Honestly, this Pagani GMT PD 1662, even though it's an homage watch, is delivered and presented in a display that is quite respectable. And it's really a watch that is pleasant to wear for the price. It's off to Pagani. As far as I know, it is difficult, if not impossible, to find an automatic GMT watch with this level of finish and assembly quality. Especially for less than 75 euros. Even Parnis, which is an excellent homage watch brand, does not reach this level of quality in this price range. Pagani is known for offering automatic watches that are inspired by Swiss reference models, but with a quality and aesthetic touch that is their own. On the dial, on the height of the bezel, on a well-crafted caseback, and so on. This is my first Pagani, and I myself was amazed, pleasantly surprised, and I do not regret my purchase at all. In fact, I'm even wondering if I might start a Pepsi-Coke collection. Moreover, for now I haven't done the diving or immersion test with my GMT Master. That will come because I plan to take it on vacation. But in any case, it is very pleasant to wear on the wrist, and I find it very beautiful with a very nice presence. It's true that, well, there are many watch detractors tribute, but this one has little to envy from the Swiss GMT. I've had a few of them. I don't have the GMT Master yet, it's being discussed, but honestly, for 100 times cheaper. It's impressive. I find the value for money exceptional, though obviously we're far from the finished quality of a GMT Master. But the explosion of tribute watches on the market is also linked to Rolex's fault, which practices a sales policy that is a policy of thieves. Let's not kid ourselves. Waiting lists that are ridiculous. The explosion of prices on the grey market, which is entirely fabricated by Rolex, often a disdainful reception when you go to the ADs, unless you are a very, very loyal customer. The IDs, well, there you go, we are not necessarily well received, not taken seriously, closed. So, feel free to share your experience in the comments. To conclude, I am very satisfied with this purchase, and I would say that this Pagani Design GMT is a very good alternative. Be patient, it will help you wait until you get the real one if you want a real one. Or if you don't want to spend several thousand euros on a watch that won't do anything more than, honestly, it's beautiful, it's very, very well made. It's a nice tribute to the Swiss Batman.